I will call to order the meeting of the Chautauqua County Legislature on April 26th of 2023. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Binkowski.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Heiser.
Here.
Mr. Hemmer.
Here.
Mr. Baldoni.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Nebel.
Here.
Ms. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Pavlak.
Here.
Mr. Penhallow.
Here.
Mr. Proctor.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Here.
Mr. Torres.
Here.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Here.
Chairman Shagnon.
Here.
There are 19 members present and no members absent. There's quorum.
Thank you. Now we will have the prayer and pledge of allegiance by Legislator Binkowski.
Bow our heads. Gracious God, we give you thanks for giving us this day. Be with each of us that we may achieve our very best and prove ourselves worthy of your love and your grace. Bless the members of this county legislature and the work and deliberations that we are about to commence this day. Instill in us good judgment and wisdom as we make decisions on behalf of the people of Chautauqua County. Help us to remain faithful to the principles of this assembly and steadfast in our duties. May all this be done the day before your great honor and glory and for the prosperity of our beloved county. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That now brings us to the approval of the minutes of the March 22nd meeting of the legislature. I have a motion by Legislator Binkowski and a second by Legislator Vanstrom. Is there any discussion on the motion to accept the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to the first privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject relating to any local law, resolution, or motion appearing on tonight's agenda. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Thank you, Chairman Shagnon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Molnar. I'm here representing your Fire Advisory Board. And our job is to advise you on matters regarding the fire service in the county. I know that you have received the letters that I have sent in conjunction with the County Fire Chiefs Association. And I know that you've no doubt researched the subject, and I thank you in advance for that. I also know that I don't have to tell you the situation that our firefighters and our ambulance workers are in this county, the state, and across the nation. So this is a great initiative in helping us to retain our members and hopefully get some recruitment so that we can help others when they need us most. I particularly want to thank Legislator Nebel and the Public Safety Committee. They worked very hard on this. Terry, in his usual fashion, probably knows more about this law than I do. So I thank you for passing that. And I also thank Legislator Nebel, Scudder, Vanstrom, Parker, Muldowney, Davis, Pavlak, Proctor, Nelson, and Hemmer for being the sponsors of this. And I urge you to pass this. And I'm just going to take this hat off right now. My other hat is I am also the mayor of the village of Bemis Point. And for what it's worth, I just wanted to tell you that the Board of Trustees of the village of Bemis Point also embraced this initiative, and we're going to be proposing to pass a local law to do the same thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Larry Barter. I'm a member of the Fredonia Fire Department. and I currently serve as chairman of your EMS council. Our job is to advise you on all things concerning EMS. And like Jeff, I want to thank you for taking this initiative. The members of the fire service and EMS community need something. This will help us with our recruitment and retention. And it's a long time in coming. And I greatly hope that all of you will come together and pass this to help our county and our communities to move forward in this 21st century. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the first privilege of the floor?
Down here with the red shirt on.
Yes.
So we can turn the mic on so he can speak.
Get on. Your microphone's on. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Ken Ray. I live at 265 East Terrace in Lakewood, and I'm here to talk about the lake and the $1 million you're advancing to whatever. I've been here for 30 years, and the lake has just gotten worse and worse and worse. Without the DEC involved in any of our arguments here in the lake is kind of irrelevant because the New York State owns the lake. And I've been trying to put a break wall in for 2 years. Now, after my 2-year stint, they want me to take my existing wall out by hand and put my new wall in. And before they even give me a permit after 2 years, this lake we need to do something with this lake. It's just unbearable. I have 25 feet of property and they refuse to give me a permit. And I'm dealing with what's his name? I'm dealing with Chuck Rosenberg and Joseph Lopelli from the DEC. And they refuse. I have an artificial leg, and that they want me to dig it out by hand and put it back in, which is totally crazy because all the weeds, all the stuff that's going to go out exactly like it used to before. I know they have their rules, but I've already did a break wall exactly the same thing, and they refuse to give me another permit for this wall that I'm doing at 271 East Terrace. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Good evening. I'm R.G. Witchy Jr. I'm a full-time resident of Lakewood. Thank you for this opportunity. I ask of you to delay or vote against resolution number 13623, the Jefferson Project funding. The resolution in its present form is a donation to a major university, RPI, as there is no entity, the Jefferson Project at Chautauqua Lake. You would be funding RPI with the hope the funding would be used solely for Chautauqua Lake. Please vote no and redesign this resolution to be a contract that requires RPI's Jefferson Project to commit to when the funding would be used, what the funds would be used for, specifically used for, who would do the research, that is to say professors, students, area volunteers, and mandate county ownership of the results with the timeline requisite. Again, please vote no tonight on resolution number 136-23 and do so until things are contractual and not an open donation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Hi, my name is Anthony Toda. I live at 144 Clifton Avenue in Jamestown, and I'm also commenting on the same resolution for the lake. I just want to bring up few things here. In the Post-Journal, there were 2 articles on April 24th and 25th. One addressed the actual physical weed cutting, and the other one addressed the project that was being discussed here as far as the actual research on the lake. And As you go through the article, the Jefferson Project, Mr. Kelly states that this applies to a network of lakes. The question that I had in my mind when this started with Lake George, if this is going to be one lake applicable to everybody else, and why wasn't the project proceeded with at Lake George? Why did it come to Chautauqua County? And further through the little research I did, there are several other things that happen to lakes to poison them. Not just a commonality that we're seeing here with pollution, but natural environments causing gases to come up into lakes, as in various lakes in Africa and et cetera. So you're going to have a variance in the amount of what causes a poisonous lake, everywhere from pollution to natural occurrences, earthquakes, et cetera. So I don't agree with the statement that the fact that he said that there's a commonality. There may be a small commonality, but every lake is a little bit different. So what really should be discussed here is what we're seeing is a crisis in a lake, and as our chairman stated, we have a two lake issue here. We have a more of a chemical issue and a physical issue, but because the factors there hasn't been proper surveys. Let's say 4 years ago, I was here with when they had a committee on the lake, and I asked about surveys, and nobody could give me an answer concerning leaking leach beds or even discharges of fecal material into the lake directly. So that hasn't been surveyed. So if you're going to have an analysis and then down the road, you're going to come up and say, look, well, on top of this, we're getting microbes that are coming in from the leach beds that we haven't surveyed yet, then you're really back to square one when it comes to what's causing the issues with the blue-green algae in the lake. So there are several other issues, including damming. There's a beaver dam at the end of the lake. There's also the Warner Dam. And I was also told that the lake had to maintain a certain level for tourism. So what you're doing, you're contributing to factors where you're stagnating the lake. You're causing the lake to heat up. All these are different factors that once you collect all these factors, plus what's coming into the lake, the deltas that are building up along the lake shores where rivers and streams are coming in from the watershed, there are so many factors here that haven't been surveyed properly, haven't been considered. So when you get to finally to get a determination, you're going to have an indefinite term. You're not going to be able to get a proper, reliable determination after years of studies, DNA
Wrap it up,
samples.
Mr. Toda. You've
And,
exceeded your 3 minutes.
The only thing, okay, just to sum up, is any work right now without the physical work to the lake is not going to be determinative of what the problem is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the legislature. My name is Jane Conroe, and I reside at 4741 Whiteside Parkway in Maple Springs. I'm actually here for two purposes this evening, and I'll start with concerning resolution number 13623. We at this time, because I am here representing the Chautauqua-Conewango Consortium, the waterkeeper affiliate for our region, Chautauqua Lake included in the Conewango Creek watershed, we oppose the request that is proposed this evening. We've gone on record to say that we should lead with science, and this is one of those occasions. There are many unanswered scientific questions that have been posed to you in a letter that we submitted, actually this afternoon. Here for the minutes of this meeting, that letter has been included, and it required the following answers to some questions that we have. In addition to the letter that was written this afternoon, I must add that the Freshwater Future Organization, which represents many freshwater areas in the United States and in Canada, have also added their endorsement to these comments. Why would we pay for understanding algae mechanisms that we already have information for? The very comprehensive harmful algal bloom action plan for Chautauqua Lake that we already have has much of this information. California, the Southern California Coastal Water Research Project has done extensive research, along with Scripps Institution of Oceanography. The need for a complete algal DNA reference library has been taken up by this organization. How can genomic data inform our limited algal control choices? And we do not know how the algal genome can affect those choices. Why would the county pay for that research that cannot at this time be practically utilized? Yes, we should pay for water and current studies in the lakes. This is information that we do not have, but we have not yet seen the data, and it needs to be built up for a computer model, and that information has not been presented to us. Why would we pay for research when we are still searching for money sources for what we already know needs to be done? The Jefferson Project indicates it is solution-based. What specific solutions have been implemented on Lake George? At this time, I do not have any knowledge of which ones have been identified. When will leadership take up the political will to do the hard task of making the long-term commitment to stopping the nutrient sources? They are what are fueling the algal blooms. And we also need to move away from the actions that promote those algal blooms. It may seem unrelated to this funding request, but an ongoing discussion for this project has been to bring a freshwater institute to our area. Our concerns with this resolution are based on both science and fiscal responsibility.
Ms. Conroe, please wrap it up. You've exceeded your 3 minutes.
I'm representing an organization at the same time, so I thought I had an extended time.
Okay, you didn't indicate that to start. Please continue.
We urge you to research the number of freshwater institutes that already exist and the price tags that are required to keep them in existence. To name a few: Darien Freshwater, Great Lakes Center, the Finger Lakes, Great Lakes Water Studies Institute, and the list goes on and on. Know that some of the nation's leading algal research is already being done on the Great Lakes. Several of these facilities have already committed to applying their work to getting to the problem. Please do not misunderstand our message. The Jefferson's Project research is respected. Financing it with tax dollars is not justified at this time. ARPA dollars are tax dollars, and could they be spent on a more pressing community need? Lead with science and use the science that we already know to reduce the algae's food supply. Focus on the fix, and the fix to allow us to drink and to swim and to fish in Chautauqua Lake. And I will take off my consortium hat and support the firemen's endeavors this evening to support the taxing relief that can be given to these volunteers. I am very proud to represent the Maple Springs Fire Department here and support you in your efforts with that taxing relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
I don't want to break this, but good evening. My name is Dan Smith. I'm a resident of Bemis Point and the town of Ellery, who owns property on Chautauqua Lake, Bemis Point. My comments are made on behalf of myself and several others, including Jim Werfritz, another Bemis Point resident who cannot be with us tonight. My comments pertain to resolution number 136-23 before you tonight. The county executive has recommended an additional $1 million be provided for 2023 research activities by the Lake George Jefferson Project. This would follow $250,000 previously provided by the county. Similar to Chautauqua Lake Protection and Rehabilitation, the CLPRA vote in January, we feel the cart is still before the horse. Once again, we ask that you reschedule a vote on this resolution to a later date, or if you must vote on it tonight, vote against it. The reasons are again similar and straightforward. Several things must be in place before such a large commitment of funds for research is justified, and just as importantly, appear reasonable to a public which has watched millions of dollars be spent on Chautauqua Lake without demonstrable positive results. This funding of 25%, that's only 1 million of the 4 million which the Jefferson project said was needed for our lake in 2023, is for a research project. It's uncommon and with a much longer time horizon than in the county experience. The $250,000 previously provided for the Jefferson project research is referenced in the resolution as expended, considered complete and closed. The taxpayers deserve and need a report describing that work and the resulting data, analysis, results, and conclusions. For the proposed $1 million, practical benefits to the county and its taxpayers must be clear. Or should we accept it's just another million being spent without a plan? No, that clarity comes from transparent, comprehensive, detailed study plan for the planned work, including objectives, progress reporting, cost, schedule estimates, and organization staff. Just like any business would do, its due diligence. Although requested and promised several times, there is no such study plan available to taxpayers for the Jefferson project's last 3 years' research on Chautauqua Lake. Using the study plan for the $1 million, we need a commitment to at least a quarterly public status report and a final comprehensive report once that work is complete. Such research is uncommon in the county's experience, which needs management skills and experience that's not available within the county organization. To monitor the study plan, we need commitment to an independent third party with the required skills and experience. In summary, we ask that you reschedule a vote on resolution number 13623 to a later date when a detailed plan is presented for public review and discussion. Or if you must vote on it tonight, vote against it. Thank you for your consideration of these comments.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Hello, my name is Sandra Saunders. I live in Whitney Bay. We've been living here for over 50 years. My question is for $1 million, what do you expect to get for $1 million on Chautauqua Lake that hasn't already been scientifically looked at by many, many researchers, and their stacks are this high with researches for what to do about our lake? I think that just throwing $1 million into the air and hoping you'll get something in return is a foolish thing to do. We have no expectations except hoping that they'll come up with a cure. There are cures, but this is too fast and too quick and too much money on the backs of Chautauqua County for a statewide program. Or I guess it was said by Mr. Wendell that it could be epic for our local community to come up with something that will cure this problem. I don't think that that's true. I think that if we want to put this much money, we should go for it slowly. And I know it's a lot of money, and I think that we should take our time and not express it in one evening, which nobody really knew this much in this period of time how much money you were going to spend, because we thought it was like $250,000 putting towards it. And I know the Institute has put money towards it, but the Institute is not the whole of Chautauqua Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, we'll close the first privilege of the floor. Olivia, take us away.
Okay. There, there are no veto messages from County Executive Wendell from the March 22nd, 2023 meeting.
Okay, at this time, we will have the county executive come down and present some commendations and a proclamation.
Thank you. If I could ask, please, Legislators Bankowski and Muldowney to join me along with Quinn, if you would, please. Without further ado, my comments will mean not near as much as that coming from her father. So we'll give the proclamation commendations about.
This is from the Office of the County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York, a proclamation. Whereas Quinn Bankowski is the coach of the Dunkirk Marauders varsity girls basketball program, and whereas during the 2021-2022 season, the Dunkirk Marauders varsity girls basketball program went 1-19 overall and 0-10 in the division. And whereas in 2022-2023, Coach Bankowski coached the Marauders to 10 wins, Marauders to win 10 games overall and 4 games in their division. And whereas for leading this turnaround season, Quinn was named Chautauqua County, Cattaraugus County Athletic Association Division I West Girls Basketball Coach of the Year. Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, Kevin Muldowney, Legislator District Number 1, and myself, Legislator District Number 2, we do hereby proclaim April 26, 2023 as Quinn Bankowski Day. In Chautauqua County, we encourage all residents and organizations in Chautauqua County to congratulate Quinn for her tremendous leadership and outstanding job coaching for the Dunkirk Lady Marauders girls basketball program. In witness thereof, we have here to set our hand and seal of the County of Chautauqua to be affixed this 26th day of April 2023.
At this time, could I have Legislator Proctor come forward? This time we are going to honor Coach Ken Rowe. Ken isn't able to be here this evening, but again, we'll let Marty start and I will pick up on the second page.
It's coming from the Office of the County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York, proclamation. Whereas Ken Rowe is the coach of the Chautauqua Lake Thunderbirds varsity wrestling program, and whereas Rowe coached the Thunderbirds to a nearly unblemished team season, and whereas Rowe coached the Thunderbirds to unseat Falconer Cassadaga Valley as the Chautauqua Cattaraugus Athletic Association Division I champion for the first time in 11 seasons with a perfect 6-0 league mark. And whereas Rowe qualified nearly an entire varsity team for the Section 6 Division II state qualifier. And whereas Rowe coached 6 wrestlers to the state championship tournament. And whereas Rowe coached a wrestler to the program's first individual state championship since Bryce Rowe in 2018. And whereas Rowe was named the 2023 Post-Journal Observer Wrestling Coach of the Year.
Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, and Martin J. Proctor, Legislator District 18, do hereby proclaim April 26th as Ken Rowe Day in Chautauqua County and encourage all residents and organizations in the county to congratulate Ken for his tremendous leadership and outstanding job coaching the Chautauqua Lake Thunderbirds varsity wrestling program. In witness whereof, we have hereto set our hands and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed this 26th day of April 2023. Ken couldn't be here. He's on vacation with his family and warned me that if he was here, his wife probably would not be happy. So, but a testament too is Ken is a full-time corrections officer here with Chautauqua County. So not only does he work with us during the day, but again, wrestling goes deep into the evening sometimes and the weekend. So, and Ken has really taken a program and brought it to the pinnacle. Falconer has been at the top of this league for over a decade, and he's done a great job. And we're going to continue with honoring one of their individuals. At this time, could we have Jordan Joslin please come down? The Office of County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York. Whereas Jordan Joslin was a state champion in wrestling for the 2022-23 season, and whereas Jordan is a junior at Chautauqua Lake Central School, and whereas Jordan was named the most outstanding wrestler in Division II after winning the 126-pound class to become Chautauqua Lake's second state champion, and whereas Jordan had a 46-2 season record, was named most outstanding wrestler at the NISFA, New York State Public High School Athletic Association, the most outstanding wrestler at the Class CD tournament, and most outstanding wrestler at the Byron Burgeon tournament. And whereas Jordan is also the Division I CCAA champion, Section 6 D2 champion, Class CD sectional champion, and placed third at the Nationals in Virginia Beach. And whereas Jordan was a team captain and a member of the 100 Career Club, and whereas Jordan is an all-state scholar wrestler who is an honor roll student in quarters 1 and 2 of the 2022-23 school year. And whereas Jordan currently has a cumulative GPA of 97.642 and is ranked in the top 20% of the class of 2024. And whereas much more excited and very proud, Jordan has signed with the West Point United States Military Academy in March. There's more.
Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, and Martin J. Proctor, Legislator, District 18, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2023 as Jordan Joslin Day in Chautauqua County, and we encourage all residents and organizations in Chautauqua County to congratulate Jordan for his tremendous leadership and numerous athletic and academic achievements. In witness thereof, we have hereto set our hand and caused the seal of the County of Chautauqua to be affixed this 26th day of April, 2023.
A real quick, interesting fact, and I'm not sure if Jordan, well, they may have discussed it. The assistant coach at West Point is a former Section 6 wrestler, Scott Green, who actually wrestled at the same time Jordan's father and I. Scott Green never made it to the state championships, never won major tournaments, but has coached Wyoming Seminary to be the #1 prep school in the country. And because of that success, is now the associate head coach of the West Point All-American team, as they say. So very unique, and what a proud honor it is for Jordan to be one of the long gray line, but also a true Western New York connection. So very proud of Jordan and his accomplishments. We're not done yet with state champs, folks. Lisa Vanstrom, if you would come on down, and Jamie Gustafson as well. We'd like to honor Tavio. Come on down, Dave. From the Office of County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York, whereas Tavio Hoos was the state champion in wrestling for 2022-23 season, and whereas Tavio is a freshman at Southwestern Central School, Tavio had a record of 41-1 on the season. Tavio placed first in the New York State Championship at the 172-pound weight class. And whereas Tavio has also placed first at the Class CD Section 6 Championship, the Kenton Tournament, the Niagara County Community College Tournament, the Akron Holiday Tournament, and the Portville Tournament. And whereas Tavio was awarded Outstanding Wrestler at the Portville Tournament. And whereas Tavio is an honor student for quarters 1 and 2 of the 2022-23 school year. And whereas Tavio is also an avid artist.
Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, and Lisa A. Vanstrom, Legislator District 15, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2023 as Tavio Who's Day in Chautauqua County, and we encourage all residents and organizations in Chautauqua County to congratulate Tavio for his tremendous leadership, numerous athletic, extracurricular, and academic achievements. In witness whereof, we have here to set our hand and cause the seal of the County of Chautauqua to be affixed this day, 26th day of April, 2023. Therefore signed Chautauqua County Executive Paul M. Wendell and Legislator from District 15, Lisa A. Vanstrom. Congratulations, young man.
Thank you.
As if a state championship isn't difficult enough, as a freshman competing against juniors and seniors, it says a lot. Not to mention, he's only a freshman, so he's got many more, just like Jordan. As we say in wrestling, you kind of have a target on your back now, but I'm sure the training these two do will bring it to. And obviously, if you don't know any history, Tavio is the last of 8 children. His brothers have all wrestled. One is at Lehigh University. His brother Seppi was at UB, and I believe now going to Lehigh. So this young man has a promising future as well. So really excited. And now let us not forget our last state champion. Several of us are going to be giving this award. So if you would please, Miss Abby Derby, come on down. Also, if I could have legislators Rankin, Wilfong, Nelson, and Torres, please. Scripted.
Whereas Abby Derby was a state champion in bowling for the 2022-23 season, and whereas Derby, as a junior at Jamestown High School, finished 5th overall at the Section 6 Girls Bowling Championships, finishing with a 6-game series of 1,182 pins, and clinching her place at the New York State, Education Association Championships. And
whereas Derby is the first female in Jamestown High School history to qualify for the New York State Bowling Championships, and whereas Derby, as a member of the Section 6 composite team, bowled a 6-game series of 1,266 pins to help the team clinch a state title with a 6-game composite score of 6,284 pins. And whereas Derby led the CCAA Division I with a 185 pin average, as well as having the high game of 242 pins and a high series of 621 pins. And whereas Derby was an honor roll student in quarter 1 and quarter 2 of the 2022-23 school year, and currently has a cumulative GPA of 95. And
whereas Derby is a member of the Jamestown High School's a cappella concert band, orchestra, and marching band. Now therefore, we, Paul M. W. Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, Thomas M. Nelson, Legislator, District 13, Elizabeth T. Rankin, Legislator, District 12, A. Torres, better known as Billy, Legislator, District 9, and David E. Wilfong, Legislator, District 11, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2023 as Abby Derby Day.
Yep. think if I counted up all the pins in my lifetime, I might have what she has. Great job. Promise I will not steal the show any longer, but at this time, if we could have Kristen Bentley come on down, please. This time we were asked to make a proclamation. Whereas an estimated 50,000 Americans and 1 million people worldwide have been diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis complex, TSC, a genetic disease with no cure. And whereas tuberous sclerosis complex is often a devastating disorder that causes tumors to form on vital organs, including the brain, heart, kidneys, skin, liver, and lungs. And whereas the disease is also the leading genetic cause of both epilepsy and autism. And whereas tuberous sclerosis complex affects some people severely and others mildly, that it often goes undiagnosed. Whereas in the incidence of tuberous sclerosis complex is as common as Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, or cystic fibrosis, so increased awareness is vital. And whereas the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance and other groups around the world have joined together to promote awareness of the disorder to ensure people with TSC get the best possible treatment and proper diagnosis. Now, therefore, I, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2023, as Tuberous Sclerosis Complex Global Awareness Day in Chautauqua County, and encourage all residents of Chautauqua County to support the search for a cure and assist those individuals and families who deal with this challenging disease on a daily basis. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed this 26th day of April, 2023.
Thank you.
Chairman, I yield.
All ready? Okay, Olivia, what's next?
All right. There are 5 communications listed on the agenda. There are 4 additional communications that were received after the agenda was finalized. Number 6 is an email from Vince Horrigan regarding his support for resolutions 133-23 and 136-23 on the agenda. Number 7 is an email received from Jim Werfritz regarding concerns on resolution 136-23 on the agenda. Number 8 is affidavits of publication from the local newspapers regarding the public hearing listed on the agenda. Number 9 is a letter of support for local laws introductory 4-23 and 5-23 from the Chautauqua County EMS Council, Chautauqua County Fire Advisory Board, and the Chautauqua County Fire Chiefs Association. Are there any items you wish to have read aloud?
Legislator Rankin.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd like to hear the letter from Mr. Vince Horrigan, number 6.
Okay.
Dear Chautauqua County legislators, I am writing to encourage you to support the 2 resolutions which provide much needed financial support for research and equipment for Chautauqua Lake, which are on the agenda for this Wednesday evening's legislature meeting. Over the past decade, I have been deeply involved in the issues regarding Chautauqua Lake organizations, their individual agendas, and most importantly, efforts to build consensus to achieve the best water quality possible. I know many of you have done your research and seen the presentations on the Jefferson Project, which has been conducting water quality research in both the North and South Basins over the past several years. The Jefferson Project collaboration with IBM Research, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and the Lake George Association brings a professional, outside, and objective approach, which we need right here to find the answers to our HAB water quality problems in Chautauqua Lake. Together with the work of the Chautauqua Lake and Watershed Management Alliance and support from Chautauqua Institution and Chautauqua County government, this research initiative will deliver the results we have been searching for. Some would lobby for paralysis of analysis when it comes to large Chautauqua Lake funding resolutions, such as those on the agenda this Wednesday. Please know that your leadership and support are critical to enhancing the usability and water quality of this of this all-important economic driver and precious natural resource for Chautauqua County. I urge you to pass these resolutions this Wednesday without delay. Sincerely, Vince Horgan, Bemis Point, New York.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
That brings us to a public hearing on the agenda. The public hearing on local law adopting the volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemption. Olivia?
What do I
Could
need
you
to
read the local law?
Oh, yeah. Local law intro 4-23, a local law adopting the volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemption for county real property taxes.
Okay, that is the subject of the public hearing. So is there anyone wishing to address the public hearing regarding this local law? Anyone wishing to address the public hearing? County Executive.
I'll stay right here because I feel like a loud voice. I would just like to thank all those who sponsors as a 34-year member of the Lakewood Volunteer Fire Company. I am very proud of what we have done here and the steps we have taken to bring this forward. It's a small, although be a small reduction in property tax, it does show that we as a county support our volunteer firefighters and EMS. I urge everyone to pass this unanimously. And again, thank you for Legislator Eagle and his strong effort to get this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the public hearing regarding the local law? Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing. And we will move on to consider the local law. Please introduce it again.
Local law introductory number 4-23, a local law adopting the volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemption for county real property taxes.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on the local law? Legislator Nebel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we all know what the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers do for our communities. Without their services, we could easily be spending millions of dollars. Like most counties in New York State, Chautauqua County is experiencing a serious shortage of volunteers. With the two local laws on the agenda this evening, we are offering the best benefit package allowed by the state. A 10% property tax exemption on the assessed value of one's primary residence, as opposed to a 5% exemption in a 2-year waiting period as opposed to a 5-year waiting period. Also a 10% exemption on volunteers with 20 or more years of service. These benefits are extended to unremarried spouses of volunteers killed in the line of duty and unremarried spouses of volunteers having 20 years or more, sometimes referred to as life members. These local laws won't solve the volunteer shortage problem, but I believe they will help. Using the county as an example, I'm hoping other taxing jurisdictions will follow suit. I ask for your consideration on local laws 4-23 and 5-23. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on local law introductory 4-23? Legislator Rankin.
I'm very proud to be able to support this, and I thank Legislator Nebel and everyone else who sponsored this bill. It's a very small way to say thank you to the people who are stepping up to volunteer for their dedication, the sacrifice of their time from their families and to their communities. So it's a wonderful thing to sponsor for them. Hopefully it will help with recruitment and retention, and to know that you have a grateful community standing behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the local law? Legislator Bankowski.
Yeah, just one comment. I mean, being on the Public Safety Committee with Terry and Tom, and we've done a lot of work on this. It wasn't like something that was thought up overnight. We did a lot of research on this, and for the the reduction in the money that we're going to receive in taxes is really minuscule compared to the large picture out there. And I've always said this before, what price do you put on a human's life? Because when you're in need and you call 911 or you call the fire department, they come. So may not be in that boat today, but maybe one day down the road you may be in that boat, and you'll be very thankful for these people who volunteer their time and put their lives in harm's way on a daily basis.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on local law introductory 4-23? Seeing no one, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock.
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 19 yes votes. The local law is adopted.
Now that that local law has been adopted, we have the opportunity to consider the next local law. Olivia?
Local law introductory 5-23, a local law extending the volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemption for county real property taxes to certain eligible unremarried spouses.
Are there any questions or comments on local law introductory 5-23? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock.
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 19 yes votes. The local law is adopted.
Okay. On to resolutions.
Resolutions. Resolution 116-23, confirm reappointment Parks Commission.
Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Chairman, I would like to make a resolution or a motion to block 116-23 through 122-23.
Okay, we have a motion to block by Legislator Bankowski and a second by Legislator Harmon. Is there any discussion on the motion to block resolutions 116-23 through 122-23? Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are blocked.
Resolution 117-23, confirm appointments Landfill Commission. 118-23, confirm appointment Chautauqua County Ethics Board. 119-23, confirm appointment Chautauqua County Fire Advisory Board. 120-23, confirm appointment Chautauqua County Youth Board. 121-23, confirm appointment Chautauqua Opportunities Board of Directors. 122-23, confirm appointment Chautauqua County Food Policy Council.
Are there any questions or comments on any of the blocked resolutions? Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on 117-23, in the past, I have voiced my disapproval of the landfill commission. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough support to vote it down. But and also in the past, since it was established, I have voted in the past to appoint a couple of our county legislators on the commission. But at this time, I cannot support appointing any business people to this landfill commission. So I'll be voting no on 117-23.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Legislator Parker.
I too will be voting against this. I have had I have had concerns about the landfill commission and the presence of business owners on the commission, along with concerns that the landfill needs to remain public for and for our residents to keep the costs lower. So I am going to be voting against this also.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the block resolutions? Legislator Nelson.
I'll also be voting no on this, really just for the reasons that have been already stated.
Thank you. All right, Legislator Pavlak. It's all the county executive's fault. He talked too long.
I'd like to speak also to Resolution 117. I'd like to first off report on some commission work. I'm a member of the Landfill Commission. I welcome anybody to attend a commission meeting. We meet the first Wednesday of every other month. And that meeting will take place next month. We've already had 2 meetings, done some pretty good work, had some good conversation. We'll actually be putting forward a potential motion next month for consideration. Believe that we've gotten off to a good start, and some good decision and discussion has taken place around the landfill and its operations. I'm looking forward to having a complete commission if this is accepted tonight. These 2 people, I see the good potential out of the commission for years to come in operating the landfill and on the county's behalf. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on any of the blocked resolutions? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on 117-23 independently, just on 117-23. Confirm appointments, Landfill Commission.
Mr. Bankowski.
No.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
No.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak.
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres. I'm sorry, was that a no vote? Okay. Ms. Vanstrom.
Yes.
Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 15 yes votes and 4 no votes. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, now on the remainder of the blocked resolutions, which are 116, 118, 119, 120, 121, and 122. If there are no other questions or comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're carried.
123-23, authorize stop DWI committee merger with Traffic Safety Board.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
124-23, authorize acceptance of donated land at Eggleston Road in the Township of North Harmony for the development of a parking area along the West Side Overland Trail.
Any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
125-23, amend capital appropriations for the Sherman Shop Generator 2021 project.
Are there any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
126-23, to consolidate the Home Energy Assistance Program, HEAP, Department A6141 2023 budget into the Social Services Administration A6010 2023 budget.
Any questions, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
127-23, accept grant funding from the New York State Department of State for Phase 3 of the Northern Chautauqua Local Waterfront Revitalization Program and amend capital budget fund.
Any questions, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
128-23, amend 2022 budget for year-end reconciliations, health insurance.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
129-23, amend 2022 budget for year-end reconciliations, various departments.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
130-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the Air Service Development Project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
Any comments? Legislator Wilfong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of myself, John Hemmer, and Shannon Barnhart, the airport manager, we encourage this body to move this market study forward to make sure that we can get back air service for the city of Jamestown's airport, which we believe is a vital economic tool to bring back the city of Jamestown. And it's also very, very important for Chautauqua County. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, in the past, I haven't been a big supporter of spending any more money on any more studies for the airport. But since we've had some ARPA money returned to us, and I feel that Shannon has done an outstanding job running the airport, I think we need to vote in favor of this so that she will have the proper tools on how to determine which way to run our airport in whatever direction. If it's found that we can do commercial service, that's fine. And if it's not, then at least gives her an avenue to how to continue to move our airports in a forward direction.
Thank you. Legislator Nelson.
Yes, as one of the legislators from Jamestown, again, I strongly support this and would encourage all of the legislators to do so. I think it's essential for the city and for the entire county. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Legislator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If this was just another study to see what we could do, I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of it. But the fact that it's part of a process to try to move forward and support infrastructure with some potential positive results for the city of Jamestown and Chautauqua County, I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Legislator Nebel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's tough to establish air service for smaller airlines. For example, at the Erie International Airport, United Airlines is ending flight services June 2nd. Delta ended services sometime in 2020. So I'll be voting no on this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, questions on the resolution? Legislator Vanstrom.
I support trains, boats, buses, carts is imperative to our rural area. So I have every intention to vote positively on this and hope that we can have some progress, move the needle on this. I think people that live in rural areas, transportation is a bigger challenge than it is in a larger metropolis. So I hope my colleagues can see it that way as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Legislator Torres.
Back up Bob there and say that she does phenomenal work for the airport, and I totally support the Jamestown Airport and the city of Jamestown on this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Legislator Wilfong.
I'd just like to say that the Airport Commission meeting
is the first Wednesday of the month at 9 o'clock at Jamestown Airport, if you were so wanted to attend. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to comment, question the resolution? Legislator Parker.
I wanted to reinforce what Legislator Bankowski said, that the way it was explained to us is that this study is to determine the viability of airport service. They are hopeful that that is what they will find out, but this is a study to determine the viability, and if there is no viable options for the airport, to find another use of the airport and surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We have, Legislator Nebel, Legislator Pavlock, Legislator Scudder voting no. Anyone else? Did I miss anyone? Okay, the resolution is adopted.
131-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the Turnout Gear Project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
132-23, amend 2023 budget to contribute local share for the Northern Chautauqua County Local Waterfront Revitalization Plans using funding from the 2% Occupancy Tax Program Reserve.
Are there any comments, questions? Legislator Muldowney.
Yes, I failed to mention earlier when we passed this, but I think Rebecca Wursler, our planning and development person, really went over the top for this. She was the development director for the city of Dunkirk and worked on this for quite a while. And then the state changed their parameters on this grant. And she went back to, I think there was 9 communities and put this together. So that, it was really a lot of effort on her part. And I think this grant started about 10 years ago. So it's really a win-win for the county and the Northern Chautauqua County. So I would just like to thank her for her efforts.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
133-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the acquisition of lake maintenance equipment using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments, questions on the resolution? Legislator Parker.
The legislature is presented today with the expenditure of $2 million of ARPA funding with very little notice. I'm sure I'm not the only legislator who spent the last couple of days seeking information on the projects that require expenditures of these monies. I have also been told that while this might be a good use of funds, there are considerable issues because there is no true plan or disclosure of objectives laid out for this legislature to weigh the true value of these proposed expenditures. I propose that we take the next month to ensure that everyone understands the plans and the objectives and how we will be measuring the appropriateness of these expenditures. I see no harm in taking some additional time to weigh the expenditure of these millions as proposed. Therefore, I move to table this resolution, and I am making a motion to table it. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to table resolution 133-23. Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Legislator Nelson. Discussion on the motion to table. Hearing none. Would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to table resolution 133-23?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
No.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
No.
Mr. Heiser.
No.
Mr. Hemmer.
No.
Mr. Muldowney.
No.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel?
Yes.
Ms. Parker? Mr. Pavlik?
No.
Mr. Penhollow?
No.
Mr. Proctor?
No.
Mrs. Rankin? Mr. Scudder? Mr. Torres?
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom? Mr. Wilfong?
No.
Chairman Shagnon?
No.
There are 5 yes votes and 14 no votes. The motion fails.
Okay, then we're back to discussing in Resolution 13323. Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that it's clarified that this equipment is not solely for Chautauqua Lake. This equipment that's going to be purchased is for use on all Chautauqua County lakes. So I know some municipalities have their own machines, but in case of a breakdown, or if their weed problem persists where they need extra help, then all they have to do is reach out to the county DPF, and that this equipment will be deployed to them. And it's not strictly for Chautauqua Lake. It will be housed there, but it is also available for everyone.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see more ARPA money redirected to worthwhile projects in the northern part of the county. I think we have in the first round of ARPA funding and some of the ARPA funding that has been redirected. I think we spend an awful lot of money in the southern part of the county and particularly Chautauqua Lake. So I would like to see, I would like to make a motion to have this resolution reduced to $500,000 and the other 500,000 or roughly whatever that comes to be redirected to worthwhile projects in the northern part of the county, possibly the North County Water District.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the resolution and a second by Legislator Parker. Discussion on the motion to amend Resolution 133-23. Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to amend Resolution 133-23?
Sure. Mr. Bankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mrs. Gustafson? Mr. Harmon?
No.
Mr. Heiser?
No.
Mr. Hemmer?
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney?
Can I explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm such a speaker. And first of all, this is the first I've heard of this, okay? And of course, I would want funding for the North County. But as we asked the question earlier, and I agree with Mr. Bankowski's comments about, if there's a breakdown, if there's need in the Dunkirk Harbor or wherever, the Westfield Harbor, that this equipment would be able to be used in those areas. I just feel like the resolution, is asking for funding where we need it, and not to neglect the North County, of course, but I think we have an agreement that it can be used there. So unless we have a specific project, I'm going to go with the current resolution.
And your vote is?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Nelson?
No.
Mr. Nebel?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Pavlik?
No.
Mr. Penhollow?
No.
Mr. Proctor? Mrs. Rankin?
I'm sorry to ask, I want to follow up on Legislator Muldowney's question and what Mr. Bankowski said. Is this money to be used anywhere in the county?
Just for equipment, like it.
Okay, so it's already specified to be able to use anywhere in the county.
That's my understanding.
That's the intent, yes. This is-
Okay, then I don't think it's necessary to split it up as long as it can get used anywhere. So I guess I'm voting no then.
So your vote is no.
No.
Legislator Rankin, please repeat your vote. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
No.
Chairman Shagnon.
No.
Okay. There are 5 yes votes and 14 no votes. The motion to amend fails.
Okay, we're back to continuing to discuss Resolution 133-23. Any more comments? Legislator Wilfong.
I just want this body to realize what's good for Chautauqua Lake is also good for Chautauqua County, whether it be North County or South County. The lake brings in millions of dollars of sales tax revenue that gets divided up between all the villages, towns, and cities. So it's ever good, and what's going on in Chautauqua Lake is very, very important to all aspects and all corners of Chautauqua County. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on resolution? Any comments? Legislator Torres.
No, I believe we just bought an ambulance for $19,000, a used ambulance that everybody is very thrilled and happy about. So I don't see why we couldn't seek good used equipment and maybe take that route with it. But that's all I got to say on that one.
Okay, thank you. Legislator Parker.
I just want to make for a point of clarification. My understanding is that some of that money is going to be used for boats that are part of or at least one boat that's part of the Jefferson project. Or that is what I was told and I just like a point of clarification, if that's possible.
Legislator Parker, with the information that I saw at the committee meeting was that a boat will be purchased for the use of the Chautauqua Lake and Watershed Management Alliance in their work on the lake, as well as was mentioned that it could be used for the Jefferson project as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. I hope I had that perfectly correctly, but I think I did because I was getting some nods from the back of the room. So, any other comments, questions, discussion on resolution 133-23? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
No.
Ms. Parker.
No.
Mr. Pavlock.
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 no votes. The resolution is adopted. (134-23) Amend spending plan and 2023 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Are there any comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
135-23, amend 2022 and 2023 budgets due to 2022 year-end reconciliations, capital projects.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
136-23, amend 2023 budget to increase funding for the Jefferson Project County contribution within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
Comments, questions? Legislator Harmon.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the resolution 136-23 by adding an additional whereas, which would read, whereas this additional funding will be used for research and ongoing work in the 2023, semicolon, and.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the resolution. Is there a second? Second by legislator Bankowski. Discussion on the motion to amend Resolution 136-23. Any questions? Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Having voted no on Resolution 133-23, I view Resolution 136-23 a little bit differently. This resolution may get to the root causes of algae and toxins in Chautauqua Lake. There may be state, national, and even international benefits associated with this resolution. So on this resolution, I am in favor of it.
Okay. Legislator Nebel, do you have any comments on the motion to amend the resolution?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
As amended, I'm okay.
When we get there.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions, comments on the motion to amend Resolution 136-23? Legislator Rankin.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat how he wants to amend it? I couldn't hear him.
Okay, please speak up. Legislator Harmon.
Whereas would read, this additional funding will be used for research and ongoing work in the 2023, semicolon, and.
So it's to clarify that the research and work will occur in 2023. Any other questions or comments on the motion to amend? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend Resolution 136-23, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is amended. Now, on to discussion of Resolution 136-23 as amended. Legislator Nelson.
I would like to make a motion to table this resolution. I think before we spend $1 million on this project, I would like to know more about it. I would like to know more about previous work that has been done, the data they've collected, the analysis of the data, the results, conclusions, and expenditures. I think tabling this at this time would be the most prudent thing to do.
Okay, we have a motion to table Resolution 136-23 by Legislator Nelson and a second by Legislator Parker. Discussion on, I'm sorry, there's no discussion on the motion to table, so we will go right to a vote. Would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to table Resolution 136-23?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
No.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
No.
Mr. Heiser.
No.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
No.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
No.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlock.
No.
Mr. Penhallow.
No.
Mr. Proctor.
No.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
No.
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom.
No.
Mr. Wilfong.
No.
Chairman Shagnon.
No.
Okay, there are 5 yes votes and 14 no votes. The motion to table fails.
Okay, now on for discussion of Resolution 136-23 as amended. Questions, comments? Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I support the idea of what this is all about. Most of us, like yourself, we've been here for 8-10 years now, and every year we have a group that says spray herbicides. Next year we have a group that says don't spray herbicides, and then the year after that they say cut the weeds, and then they say don't cut the weeds. And every year we've spent probably $200,000 every year, so we've already eclipsed the $1 million mark, I'm sure, over the last 8 years on what we've spent on all these other ideas and what to do, what not to do. Do I believe that this Jefferson project is the answer? I truly do believe it in my heart that we need an answer. None of us in this room here are experts on lakes. I was a prison guard my whole life. So if you wanted to ask me something about a prison, I could be that expert, but I am not an expert on lakes. So for me to sit here and say, yeah, let's go ahead and spend 250,000 on herbicides. And then next year we'll say, well, let's not do it. Let's cut weeds and whatever. I think it is advantageous to us to move forward with this project, to give us a definite answer on what to do. I do agree with some of the people that made comments today. I think some of this stuff is very vague, and I really, really hope that, you know, we have some lockdown answers when they're done with this project. I want an action plan from them to tell us exactly what to do. I don't want to say if come maybe, you know, this is the last time for a study, and we got studies stacked up like cordwood out in the hallway. I think this is going to give us the answer on how to proceed and how we're going to spend our money. So obviously we couldn't table it to put in some more language into the thing, but I'm forward I'm going to vote yes to pass this, and let's move on.
Thank you. Other comments? Legislator Nelson.
I feel I have to explain my position because I do feel the Jefferson project looks promising, what research I've done. And many of you know I've been here since January, so I'm just starting to learn more and more about this. So I am planning to support it, although I thought another month would be worthwhile to look at. So
thank you. Legislator Hemmer.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that there is not enough information about how the money is going to be spent and what's going to be done. I listened to the presentation that was given, and it was a lot of talk about testing and research, and nowhere in the presentation did they say anything about the solution to the problem being presented at the end of the research. There's not even a timeline for the research. It's just going to go on and on. In Chautauqua County, we know we have a problem, and we're currently working to try and correct the problems in Chautauqua Lake. We're completing the sewer system around the lake. We're doing shoreline work. We're doing remediation work in the tributaries, all to keep the pollution out of the lake. And that's what we can do. And I think that another study is not going to lead us anywhere. And they don't even promise that they're going to lead us anywhere. So I'm going to vote against this.
Okay, thank you. Legislator Parker, I believe.
I wanted to read from an email that I got, I think it was yesterday, but I wanted to add to what Legislator Hemmer said. I watched the Planning and Economic Development presentation, and I've looked on a number of the organizations, Chautauqua Lake organizations, which I believe there are at least 5. And I know they've considered a number of different ways of raising money. And I am not against spending money on Chautauqua Lake. But what I really do feel is that, as I said previously in the other, regarding the other resolution, on spending money for machinery, that I propose that we take more time, because like Legislator Hemmer, I don't feel like there are many questions that come up. We don't know. They were discussing, I don't know which tape I watched, where $50 million has been spent on Lake George, which my understanding is that Lake George is similar, however, does not have many of the same water problems that Chautauqua Lake has, and that the reason I think partly they chose Chautauqua Lake was that they want to be able to look at a lake that is further progressed with these harmful algae blooms. And so anyway, I don't think we got the answers to the now and future expectations and deliverables. And I'm sorry that I don't know the name, or I can't pronounce the name of the person who wrote this email, but he's from the Chautauqua Lake Partnership, I believe. He talked about having a comprehensive and detailed written study plan for planned work, objectives, a commitment to regular status reports, and also commitment to an independent third-party monitoring of this research. I think that based on the fact that so many different organizations, as Legislator Bankowski said, I was told that 7 out of 9 communities use herbicides on Chautauqua Lake, and then certain organizations don't want to use herbicides. I was told that the herbicides actually target the 2 invasive species that cause algae blooms, and that using the weed churner actually and leaving behind parts allows the algae to propagate. So, I mean, obviously, as Legislator Bankowski said, I'm not an expert, but I would like to know more, and I would like to know some facts, that some provision of a structure and a plan before I go back to my district of Fredonia and tell my residents that we're going to spend $1 million on something. And while my understanding is that the Jefferson project sounds really qualified, amazing, and all the various adjectives, I would like to know more. And I really don't think there is any harm in taking some time and considering that. I did not hear in the presentation from Planning and Economic Development that there was any deadline for the decision. And so I think it would be prudent to wait and to spend more time preparing things so that the legislators can make what I would consider a proper decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions on the resolution as amended? Legislator Vanstrom.
Like all of our lakes and waterways, I'm a big fan, very big fan. And I have to say how grateful this county was to have had heavy support from Army Corps of Engineers in the past for 3 North Harbors on Lake Erie. Without that kind of funding, I cannot even gather how bad the conditions up there would be. But my one word that comes to mind would be impassable, unusable. So I'm grateful for other programs that we've also enjoyed in the past that have helped other waterways in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Wolfong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want the people behind me to realize that weeds are something different than the harmful algae blooms. So we usually are spraying a herbicide to kill the weeds. The algae blooms are their own beast in themselves. And that's what this particular survey is going to target. Certainly the weeds are a nuisance and they get caught in your prop and that type of stuff. But the algae blooms are always very, very a huge issue for the local beaches, the local recreation that goes on in the lake. And I believe that we've got to do something about that algae bloom. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Pavlak.
Thank you. I heard about the Jefferson project. I saw the presentation. Thought, geez, that's really good news for Chautauqua County that they're choosing Chautauqua Lake. And then I thought, ooh, $1 million, yikes. So I had to study it some more. I had to take into consideration what an asset the lake is to our county, what it does to our communities, and as it was referred to in another discussion item, what the sales tax does to the whole county as a general. And also there may not be an unspoken timeline, but there is an unspoken timeline because 2023 is already clicking away. I wouldn't want to table this for another couple of months or prolong the work. I want to see them put boots on the ground and get to work, and we could kick this down the road another year or two, and I'd like to see them continue their research so that we are closer to figuring out why these algae blooms are around, what they're doing, and how we can maybe start to control them, or hopefully we'll know more about them. So that's it.
Thank you. Other comments, questions on the resolution as amended? Legislator Proctor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to echo Mr. Wilfong's statement that this study is about harmful algal blooms. And as a resident of Finley Lake, I'm excited to see Jefferson Project come and choose Chautauqua Lake to study this, because Finley Lake suffers from it as well, and all the lakes. And to have them come here is, I think, it's exciting, and the very real possibility that they could set up shop here and bring their team here as a more permanent fixture to study fresh water and have an institute here is I think it's nothing but good news for Chautauqua County. And also to reiterate, Mr. Pavlock, the timeline, 2023 is ticking after a winter with no ice cover. We don't know. And that's part of I'm sure, of the science, that they have to get this going right now in order to get the best results and the best data. And I'm sure we will have a plan, but we got to have data and research to formulate a plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Legislator Bankowski.
And in leadership today, I did speak with the county executive about this, and he assured me that at the end of this year, we should have somewhat of a report of the work that the Jefferson Project will do this year. And we should have answers by the end of 2024, and we will have an action plan, as what I was told today. So this is coming sooner than later. And I agree with these guys. I mean, summer's here. The stuff starts growing now.
Thank you. Legislator Parker. Yes, I can't tell if you're wiping your hair or raising your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when I was talking about tabling it, and I can't speak for Legislator Hemmer, but I'm not talking about tabling it for another year. I think that with consideration, a month with consideration. I mean, I think it is. I have to say that I found out about this by reading the paper, and then I was able to go back to, because it didn't come by any of the committees that I am on, or anyone, and I wasn't notified in any way. But I think that this came really fast, and I think it's reasonable to ask for, even if, next month. How about if we get some more information for next month? I don't know exactly the time frame. I heard a lot of people in the audience also say tabling it for more information. And by more information, I think we're talking about concrete information, like Legislator Bankowski said, an action plan, expectations. What is this going to, because we didn't get any of this. This all is presented in a very short time. And I think it's a reasonable ask to ask for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Wilfong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe it's everybody's duty to pay attention to what the other committees are up to. If you don't do your homework, you don't need to come here. I'm going to be honest with you. This was presented in front of Audit Control, which I think is the most important committee, and also Planning and Economic Development. I actually read what goes on in all of the committees. That's your part. That's part of your job as a county legislator, to stay informed of what's going on. If you don't do that, how do you vote on what's going on here today? Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the resolution as amended? Legislator Vanstrom.
Just to echo the words of my esteemed colleague, David Wilfong, these meetings are very unglamorously put out there on the internet on
Excuse me, are we commenting on the resolution?
yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
I think we have enough information to proceed on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the resolution as amended? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski. Yes. Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson, Mr. Harmon,
Yes.
Mr. Heiser,
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer,
No.
Mr. Muldowney,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, Mr. Nebel,
Yes.
Miss Parker, Mr. Pavlock,
Yes.
Mr. Penhallow,
Yes.
Mr. Proctor,
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin, Mr. Scudder, Mr. Torres, Miss Vanstrom,
Yes.
Mr. Wilfong, Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 no votes. The resolution is adopted. 137-23, designate Chautauqua County as lead agency responsible for state environmental quality review, SEQR, of state-funded snowmobile trail modifications for 2023.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
138-23, authorizing public hearing regarding 8-year review of Chautauqua County Agricultural District 7.
Are there any questions, comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
139-23, closed capital projects.
Are there any comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
140-23, quitclaim deeds.
Are there any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Miss Parker. Mr. Pavlock. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres. Miss Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 19 yes votes. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, that brings us to announcements on the agenda. Are there any announcements from any of the legislators? I see a county executive has a hand up. I'll recognize the county executive.
Thank you. On May 6th at 11 a.m., we will be having a tribute to fallen workers in Chautauqua County. It'll be at the Erlinson Overlook Park. It's a continuation of an annual event. We honor those who have died while working, both past and recently. So I urge everyone to please attend, sponsored by our local labor unions. And again, Saturday, May 6th at 11 a.m. at the Erlinson Overlook Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements from legislators? Any other announcements? Hearing none, we will move to the second privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject. A member of the legislature may speak on any subject. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself.
Karen Engstrom, Village of Mayville, Town of Chautauqua. This is your April update on utility scale solar. On your desk is a document that looks like this. It's been distributed by the American Chemical Council. It demonstrates that the industry announces that PFAS is part of all wind and solar projects. PFAS, or polyfluoroalkyl substances, are a very real threat to our drinking water, to our lakes, to our rivers. It's even more of a threat than algal blooms, which are very short-lived. The EPA verifies that PFAS is present in solar panels, and according to the EPA physical scientist, Dr. Mark Striner, who provided the 39 records for the EPA to identify the applications of PFAS as being part of solar panels and therefore being a danger to our drinking water and to our entire environment. Both the EPA and the DEC have been bringing this to our attention in the last few years. It is only recently that it was discovered that these chemicals can be hazardous to humans. The EPA, and I quote them, quote, "The current known health risks include increased incidence of cancer, liver and kidney disease, reproductive issues, immunodeficiencies, and hormonal disruptions. The EPA will cut off water use when they determine that there are 10 parts per trillion of PFAS within the drinking water." Mayville is a good example. We've all experienced it. Mayor Cypher knows all about that. The EPA continues to monitor, and it's still a great deal of money that's being expended to clean that up and to provide new wells. The Post-Journal and the Observer have reported that Bust-Eye has been sued by a project developer because they tried to protect their community. The town of Hanover has also been reported in the Observer as having come to terms with its projects in its area that indicate they do not comply. They are bullying our towns, and we're asking the county legislature to finally take the data that's been drawn from other communities that have had PFAS contamination, such as in North Carolina and Connecticut, and in our own Monroe County in New York. The towns of Rush and Avon have outlawed PFAS. Solar laws there call for proof that no PFAS be in any solar components to protect our communities. And I maintain that the choice for our lakes, for our groundwater, for our agriculture is that we either accept solar projects and thereby accept contaminated water, or we choose clean water and we reject solar projects, at least to the degree that we can put in regulations that say no PFAS, no polyfluoroalkyl substances can be part of solar panels. As the EPA indicates, it is a threat to all of our water systems. And I have to say, when history is written, who will be accountable? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Yes, sir, Mr. Toda. You need to sit closer to the microphone. Please introduce yourself again.
My name is Anthony Toda, and I live at 144 Clifton Avenue in Jamestown, New York, and I'm going to continue some comments that I've made in the past here. I am complaining publicly regarding the continual violations of my human and constitutional rights in Chautauqua County and elsewhere by federal agencies. My congressmen and senators who represent and work with this legislator have a duty also to as my representatives to protect my rights and to however they are continuing to fail to do so. Senator Gillibrand,
Not that close to the microphone.
okay, Senator Gillibrand also has refused to help me on some of these issues. I further sought assistance from my former Congressman Thomas Reed and Joe Sempolinski, and from my present Congressman Nick Langworthy. After I presented substantial evidence to Congressman Reed's Jamestown office, nothing was done. When my interim Congressman Joe Sempolinski reportedly publicly stated that he would help any constituent, I complained of these federal agency crimes to a Mr. Tim Copian, described to me as the chief of staff of Congressman Sempolinski's Washington, D.C. office. I stated to Mr. Copian that at least he create a foundation in these matters for upcoming Congressman Langworthy. And Mr. Copian said he would look into the crimes and get back to me. However, Mr. Copian also never got back to me again. Also, during Congressman Sempolinski's term, I spoke in person with Christina of the Jamestown office, second floor Fenton building in Jamestown. While attempting to reach Christina in the Fenton building, I was harassed by a Mr. Marv Olson, who stated he was the building maintenance person. Mr. Olson stated to me that if I didn't leave the building, he, Mr. Olson, would have me arrested. Upon the beginning of Congressman Langworthy's congressional term, arrangements were made for me to speak to a Mr. Michael Hicks of Congressman Langworthy's Buffalo area office. After a detailed conversation, after I offered to present evidence of a person in FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., lying to me, Mr. Hicks, acting for Congressman Langworthy, refused to assist me concerning these terrible crimes being perpetrated upon myself. As vested by the U.S. Constitution, senators and congressmen that I have stated here tonight have a duty to listen and act upon the complaints of their constituents. The deliberate neglect and the dereliction of the duties by these officials, as I have stated here tonight, protects and perpetuates crimes by the FBI and other federal agencies upon myself in Chautauqua County and elsewhere. And these deliberate and neglectful acts by these senators and congressmen constitute crimes in and of itself by those senators and congressmen. And again, I just I can't overstate the importance of what's happening in my life and possibly what's happening in other people's lives also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Anyone else? Then I will close the second privilege of the floor, and I will recognize Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we can go into executive session for consideration of a motion to enter into executive session upon a affirmative vote of the majority pursuant to section 105F of the Open Meetings Law to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
Okay, we have a motion by Legislator Bankowski and a second by Legislator Harmon to move to executive session. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We are going to move to an executive session. The legislators will adjourn to a conference room. We expect this to last about 30 minutes. When we reconvene, we don't anticipate any further action to come before the legislature. So we are in executive session.